media, if you look at the media, majority of the coverage was against PTI, my government. I mean, we had a real problem with the media. In fact, the problem was that there was real libelous stuff on the media. And even I, as a Prime Minister, I had to go to court. And yet, in my 3 years, I never got justice. Whereas in Britain, I've been in a libel case, a very famous one, and within 1.5 years, the case was decided. So anyway, I couldn't get justice, and we felt there was a lot of reporting, a lot of fake news, and we tried to bring legislation to control fake news, by the way, which is a problem all over the world because social media is a new phenomena. But unfortunately, I found that the media then and the human rights organizations, were very vocal at the time. But now, with a complete clampdown on human rights, I'm afraid there's not much, hardly any response from them. But about the Western countries, I find that, they talk about human rights when it suits their interests. But right now, I mean, all the talk about democracy, human rights, and so on, it's only reserved for, China and Russia, when something happens in Hong Kong or Uyghurs or something to do with the Russian dissidents. But what is happening right now, there's hardly any condemnation from any of the powerful Western countries who claim, that they are the, their professed aims are promoting democracy and human rights.
Yeah, that surprises me a lot. Thank you, Imran Khan.
Chairman, this is Atif. First of all, thank you very much for accepting my request and joining us at today's space today. I'm really grateful to Jeremy and Safina for organizing this event, as well as our social media team headed by Gibran Ilyas, Imran Hamid, because without our social media, all this, our political movement, our struggle, all these events couldn't have been possible. And then, a friend like Dr. Mohit Pirzada, a mentor, who has always been our biggest support, especially during the last 30 months. I don't have any question, it's just I want to bring it to your notice. Alhamdulillah, we have support among 98% of Pakistani Americans. And along with that, we have started getting huge support among the Muslim Americans as well. And on September 2nd, we are planning one of the biggest events on which you will be speaking to over 15,000 Muslim American gathering. And also, I want to make a commitment, like you always say, La ilaha illallah. And inshallah, we will fight till the very end. We will not leave you alone. All the overseas Pakistanis are with you. And after that, Gibran Ilyas, I think he's also at the airport and he's about to check in. He also wants to make an announcement. Gibran bhai, if you can unmute yourself and make that announcement, because it's a very important announcement. Thank you.
Sure. Many thanks, Adil. Khan sir, you had said that it's the best of times and it's the worst of times. So what we have done in social media is, we've heard of citizens journalism, but what we have done is this is going to be the first ever citizens documentary. I think it's going to be one of the biggest. So what we're asking people who have footages in high definition from March 2022, when the whole movement started for Hakiki Azadi, just check my pin tweet, feedback@insaf.pk is the email address to email if you want to be part of that project. Inshallah, it will be one of the greatest documentaries ever, because everybody will be part of it. Khan, my short question is, you once mentioned that PMLN, they're not educated, nor they try to get education. So just recently, Khwaja Asif has blamed, put allegations on Shaukat Khanum Hospital again. I say we let them, because every time he does that, we get record donations. So this is what we're seeing this time around. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, look, Gibran, these people are discredited. They have been in power for 30 years. Everyone knows everything about them. And the last 14 months, they have completely destroyed themselves, because they came in on the pretext that they were experienced in dealing with the economy. And they have completely, our economy has never been in a worse shape than it is right now. And this is, despite what was called the commodity super cycle, when post-COVID, the international commodity prices had gone through the roof, which is when we were in power. And now they are down by 35%. And despite that, you find that inflation is unprecedented in Pakistan's history. So number one was inflation, number two was fixing the economy. The economy has nosedived in Pakistan. We almost defaulted on our loans, and that would have really set the country back. So people now, the reason why they are scared of holding elections, and the reason why they only want elections is when they know that PTI is completely hamstrung by the establishment and I'm in jail or disqualified, because they are petrified that in the elections they'll be wiped out. My point is that whatever happens, they'll be wiped out in election. Even if I'm in jail or if I'm disqualified, I don't think the moment the elections start, they do not understand the passion on the ground right now. The feeling of injustice amongst the people, what is happening. Whether it is economic injustice and whether it is mishandling of the economy or the governance system and the levels of corruption. So they will be wiped out whenever there are elections. But the point is that people like Khwaja Asif, no one listens to him, because these people are supporting, they have supported the most corrupt governments. I mean, the two Asif Zardari was considered the most corrupt man by people like Khwaja Asif and Nawaz Sharif. Now they're all together. And Zardari used to call Nawaz Sharif the most corrupt person. So they're all together now. So anyway, they have no credibility. And that's reflected in them trying to run away from the elections.
So this is Jeremy again. I wanted to ask you, there seems to be an effort by the media to portray you as, somehow anti-American. I know that one of your generals paid $30,000 to lobby the U.S. to support your removal as prime minister. Would you be willing to map that amount if I convince the CIA to put you back into power?
Well, Jeremy, yes, amazingly, my own army chief at the time had hired this lobbyist without us knowing, and my own government was paying him $30,000 while he was lobbying against me to the Americans and telling them that I was anti-American. But I just a word about what is this idea about anti-American. I mean, how can you be anti-whole country? This idea of calling someone anti-American or anti-Pakistani or anti-Indian, for instance. How could I be anti-Indian? I would be anti the policies of Narendra Modi, specifically the way they are treating the minorities or the people of Kashmir. But I can't be anti a whole country, because a country is made up of all sorts of opinions. So I was always against the policy of Pakistan joining the US war on terror, because as a Pakistani I felt it would be a disaster for Pakistan, and it was. 80,000 Pakistanis were killed in it. Over $100 billion lost to a poor economy. And I was always skeptical about the US war in Afghanistan or US invasion of Afghanistan, because, there were no clear aims, and I kept saying there would never be a military solution. So, if you criticize the US foreign policy, does not make you anti-American. I mean, if I'm today criticizing my own government for this fascist tendencies, I mean the draconian laws, the total violation of our fundamental rights, does that make me anti-Pakistani? So this is, it's just to brand people. Sometimes I feel that, to stop criticism of certain policy, and especially when you're from other countries, it's easy to brand you as being anti-American and then shut your voice.
But I would like to add in there, Imran Khan, that you have stayed in UK since you were 17 years old, and you always say that you loved being here and the rule of law. That's how actually you got inspired by. So I would like you to add into this that why would you be anti-West when actually you have been praising them and you have stayed there for nearly 20 years?
Look, how can you be anti-West? West is a geography. I mean, it has so many countries. These are so bizarre, these terms. He's anti-West or he's anti-American and so on. Britain, I keep telling everyone that the first time I saw two important things which made the basis of my manifesto was rule of law and a welfare state. So that's the first time I saw in Britain. And later on when I studied